Hi, Brent Ritzno here. Today, I want to share with you the importance of this idea that we are still living in a sort of jungle, civilized jungle, so to speak, where there is, in essence, no rules or I got to be careful here. It's there are of course like laws or regulation rules and things for everybody to adhere, but in certain nuances or certain situation there is no rules or any of the things. Anything goes. And in such a time, if you assume that there is certain kind of rules, right? And if you try to follow these, believing that then that will protect you, and but eventually that assumption will get you into more danger, being taken advantage of, or made you really stagnant in life. So I'm kind of talking real abstract here, but for now. But a lot of times when you feel certain sort of a limitation in your life, it's important to think whatever the rules or some kind of like a process out there in this world created by other people are not particularly beneficial to you, but that you are just kind of following along because you think that's something you cannot break. But that's generally speaking not what it is. It is human made rules and laws and regulation. If you want to break it, you could break it. It's not like I'm telling you that you should break it. It's just it is more flexible than some people think it is. Obviously, if you use this concept like laws of a jungle to everything, then you're gonna get into trouble and a lot of like you know unintended consequence that you don't want to deal with. And especially if you're doing it for very selfish reasons, to, for instance, take advantage of other people, then you might get into jail, prisons, right? That's a really a lawlessness. I'm not talking about that. It's just as a concept of it. So when I was younger, I knew some of the rules are pretty bullshit. It's like when I went to schools and things, some of the regulations I thought about, it's just nonsense. I broke it because I know that I'm not hurting anybody or harming anybody, or I'm not trying to disturb anybody. I was just doing myself. Uh, the, you live once, so let's say my high school, you cannot like have a longer hair than certain like a certain length, right? But then I was like, you know what? Back in the day, there was like rock music and things, so nature was very popular. So I wanted to kind of like see how that looks, and I pretty much ignored like a lot of like that type of regulations. Um, and I'm not really disturbing anybody. In my opinion, obviously, the environment where everybody's expecting in the similar manner, right? Like let's say if you're in the military or things, then that's a problem. But then I wasn't really in the military, so I thought it was like a little bit like too much. But in any case, um, when I thought about this, some of the things I thought it was good that I broke it because I had a really good time. But then since I wasn't really careful why it was there to begin with, right? And I didn't really think it through. So sometimes I went overboard to right. And then that got me into not just like school things, but a lot of things. Some of the things I pushed too much because I didn't really think through this type of like nuances. So life gets a little bit chaotic. I should not have to really deal with a certain problem arising from me not adhering to certain customs or behavior norms, that type of things, and then that really slows down the progress because we live in a society where everybody sort of have to collaborate together, and then when it comes to collaboration, you have to be a little bit of give and take. And when you get into when I thought about this, like especially when I get into somebody else's space, right? Then at least I should have more respect to the rules that they created, and if not, then if I don't like it, then I should have just left, right? But I didn't really know, any of that like social maneuverability, right? I instead of I leave, I kind of stay there and then kind of complain about it or whatever I did. I'm not sure, or had a bad attitude, that type of things, and it doesn't do anybody any good, especially myself. So, and some rules are actually, some people actually thought about through carefully, and if you're not deeply really understand why it's there, and it seems to be working, then it's better to actually follow those rules until you actually understand that this is in this particular situation it's worthwhile following. But then if you decided or if you know that then your situation is quite different, then you can adjust accordingly. So the question that we have to really think about is like, aren't the regulation rules actually created for us, like, to maintain the orders, and it's for our own benefit. And that's actually very true, right? I mean, if it's not something significant or something that meaningful, generally speaking, this kind of rules or laws are ignored by many of people as well. Because the people are not, we just don't want to just follow things each time. We just go naturally along with it. So we have to really know. So rules and regulations, generally speaking, it has some sort of meanings. But the more you become specialized, and the more you become more knowledgeable or skillful, like a certain area, you became you know more than, let's say, average people of that particular situation. Then you start noticing those are laws or rules or regulations that generally covers the average people who are not really thinking creatively or step above. So in that case, like if this is the thing about becoming like really doing excellent things, is to, once you get to a certain level, all these regulation rules are just it's like staff, right? Like when you broke the bones or things of nature, you just kind of lean on it and then help you go along. But you don't need it anymore, right? Because you, I mean, I was using metaphorically, but what I'm trying to say is, if you have a skills ability that have, you can, for instance, like everybody has a little bit of handicap, but then you are like this athlete, like first class athlete, then you don't need that stuff, and that's the rules regulation. Then you have to create your own tools that doesn't disturb other people, but maximally advance your whatever you want to do, like goods or service, like to make it the process. You're gonna make it by breaking these rules. It's extremely actually important. Otherwise, you're gonna drag along all this like whatever the tools that you never need, and it gets slowed down, and then nothing gets really accomplished. And you might wonder why like a lot of people just blindly follow along the rules because it's easy, right? I mean, a lot of times we don't want to really think about why, or we don't want to have certain type of conflict with other people by breaking rules. And then if you don't know much, then yeah, sure, that's the safest course to live, and then nobody's going to complain about it because you're following the rules. But then that gets quite dangerous. Like if your attitude to live life is always just kind of following the rules, and then why it's dangerous is like there are a lot of people, like especially authority figures, they're creating the rules not for you, for people like everybody or us. They're doing it for themselves, right? For instance, you can kind of see like some of a sector of population wanted to limit the free speech, and then they create the rules or laws, right? Like they say, hey, we're gonna restrict your freedom of what you can talk online because it'll spread hate or whatever. The really issue is who's gonna decide what's hateful. Is that the one that you disagree with? Generally, everybody, it's a feeling. So generally, if you don't like what people say, that sounds like hateful, then can you put somebody like that in jail, or account banned, or you can do a lot of rules and regulations to make it safe, right? But then a lot of authoritarian type, a lot of charlatans use these type of rules and regulations, especially the one with the power, to not for you. It's just for them to maintain control, and you don't want to get into that, caught up in that type of environment. So make sure that you understand why. Of course, like a few times it's fine. You don't want to kind of think all the time like through. But then when you're doing it regularly, like if you're in a certain environment, there is a rule of regulation. You wanted to know why you're actually doing this. And so how are you going to decide which rule to follow, which one to actually break? So the real rule is like first you have to have a respect, right? Like for instance, like a cultural customs, like even though you really don't like it, if you're visiting, right, let's say some kind of nation or something like that, then if you don't like it, then don't visit. But if you go there, even if you disagree, you pretty much just wanted to follow along, like adhere to their customs. And yeah, I mean this is actually pretty significant. Otherwise, like you're gonna be there temporarily, so you're not gonna change anything. And of course there is some sort of like a human level decency. If some culture is like human level like evil, but I don't know if the culture is such and then everybody else is doing it, that you might be actually endangering yourself to go along with, go against whatever. So you got to be very careful. But then, yeah, hopefully, yeah, it's a tough thing. Like when it comes to breaking the rules, there is always pushback and risk. So it's not always safe. And to do this, it requires the rationality and also courage to do breaking the rules in the right way. Of course, like it's easy to break a rule by sneaking around and then stealing things, that type of thing. But that's not what I'm telling you. If you're doing something right thing and then breaking the rule, you always get a backlash from people who are, for example, corrupt or somebody who's stuck in a traditional or like a very rigid idea of how something should go. So when it comes to breaking rules, like you really have to think in the long term. Like, okay, is this worth breaking the rules here, right? And generally, if you're in a certain field and if you keep going, then it's generally say, yeah, you should break the rule because you're trying to innovate, trying to create something new. Then all the rules start not applying. But then when you get into something that are more just environmental, someone else, you're the visitor, so to speak. Then you should just not really break. More go along with, and then if you wanted to kind of tell people that something is a little strange in things, you can do it in a more like humorous way, or it's difficult. Yeah, but then probably it's better to just back away and then not deal with it. Kind of stay away from it. That's we really have to pick battles in life. And then you definitely can think like, okay, rule is important because it creates a structure and stuff. Yeah, that's very true. Because some people might think that the no rules or no regulation might be actually the best place to innovate or do whatever, but actually this is not true. When we don't have any constraints, right? Then what really happen is like our mind just go all over the place, and we can't really regulate. Right. That's why like a lot of invention actually happens when you don't have a lot of resources. Like like a lot of people start the billion-dollar companies from like a dormitory and all that. It's because they don't have that much resource. Why didn't the big corporation couldn't do it? Right? Why the couple of guys or girls can do this kind of stuff? It is gives you a lot of like power having a constraint. So don't disregard this type of like. I'm not sure I'm using the same kind of like a rules or regulation of this constraint, but then you don't really necessarily break the rules to become successful. That's what I'm trying to say. If there is a rules that you can work on, then so be it. Just try to figure it out. But what I notice about many people who go get ahead in life are the one that they tweak that rules. Right? So some people will just stop just because there's a rule, but then some people will just get all around. It's a form of deception. A lot of people do, and that's true. But it's a necessary deception because that particular thing, as I said, the particular rule was for the average people. To come in, for instance, some business has some kind of red tape. You gotta make an appointment like this, and you gotta behave in that way. But then some people, successful people, will, even though a lot of people just, if somebody didn't show up right? Like if you have an appointment with like a big company, somebody didn't show up for 15 minutes, they leave. But then people who actually get where they're at might actually stay overnight even, because they got there and they don't have resources, so they have to stay there to get a job. Or they use a little bit of maneuver to get to the decision maker. But then you can do this because these people has already a skill and talent that the other person seek, right? The other side, that who create the red tape. So that's why it's important that when it comes to rule breaking, you really have to every day progress yourself to become meritorious. So when you do this, it has a meaning, and it has a more benefit than breaking just a rule. Otherwise, it's gonna get annoying, and then you're gonna get kicked out, and the life just get harder and harder. And if you're just okay, then it's better to just follow rules. So yeah, you will make mistakes. It's like you get in trouble if you do the rules. Some rules you thought it wasn't that important, but then it turned out to be important. But that's just a part of life. You get bruised here and there, but eventually you get experience of which one you push and which one you shouldn't push. You start noticing a little bit, and then when you break it, you might break it just a little by little, or something not that significant. And always at the end of the day, there's more benefit. Yeah, don't do any sort of like the breaking stuff just for the sake of excitement or whatever. And then some other people have to wipe your ass, so to speak, like, or you get into trouble, and then in a long-term detriment of your future. It's you're doing thinking creatively to break rules and things for your or other people at the same time for the benefit of bigger things. So there is always a backlash, so just making sure that you understand this consequence. So really thoughtfully questioning and breaking the rules that around you, it'll freeze you up. And then you can actually forge your own life in the most effective ways, right? Because you don't have to be restrained by any of these things. It becomes all these regulations are for your tools. You can be... You don't want to do the work in the middle of the war zone. There's no resources, or there's this fighting going on. Like, it's just too chaotic, right? That's why you want to get into the one with a good rule for laws, and then making sure that you're in a safe place, and then do some things, meaningful progress. But then there is always a useful structure like these, and also that outdated or not applicable to you. That type of things. You have to be creative, and then you got to navigate through those. So, yeah, this whole process will make your, steer your life more authentically and effectively, and you can make important decision, not be encumbered by any of these, but based on your core functionality and importance, and you can just go ahead and create and make a best decision for your life. Thank you for watching. Please share your ideas in the comment section below to help each other, and hit like and the subscribe buttons so you get notified of the next video. See you next time.